Welcome back to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
Always fun to catch up with our missionaries, hear their stories, and to learn how the Lord is using those missionaries throughout the world to bring that message of Christ for you. And those missionaries, just like our pastors here in the domestic United States, work very hard and need to take some time to relax, to rest, to be refreshed. Our good friends over at the Missouri District posted in, I think it was on Twitter, I think is where we saw.
I think it was story. Twitter. I spend my days on Twitter. Shared
a story in their blog. Pastor, please take your vacation. Here to help us dig into that a little deeper. The Reverend Gene Wyssmann is assistant to the president of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, Missouri District. And he's the assistant for Church Worker and Congregational Health here in the Missouri District. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Pastor Wyssmann.
My pleasure. Good to be with you.
Good to have a chance to talk about vacation. I'm ready to talk about vacation. Are you?
It's a good thing to do.
What? Well,
I just returned from one, so yes, it's a very good thing to do.
As a matter of fact, I have to point out that setting a good example for us, we invited President Hagan to join us to this conversation this morning as well, and he said, "I'm sorry, I won't be available. I will be on vacation."
There you go.
So I said, "Thank you for providing a good example for us to talk about." So let's, before we get too far into the conversation, how do you define vacation?
Well, I would say vacation is a time, a kind of an intentional time set apart so that you can be away from home or business or those places that kind of are the day-to-day thing. The office can stack up, work can stack up, all of those cares and concerns. And so a vacation is just that time getting away from some of those things. It may, I've heard of people talk about a staycation, which means they stay at home, but they don't go into the office, and they just kind of are. And some people enjoy that. But typically, I think I have a vacation as a time where you just get away. Maybe you have some time for travel or some recreation or change of scenery, that kind of a thing.
Sometimes we think we can take vacation and still be connected, and that doesn't really work, though, does it?
Not very well, no. It's because all of a sudden you get put back into the focus of business work or whatever. And, what happens is if we go on vacation and then are still always checking our phone or always checking our email, and if we're vacationing with family or if we're vacationing with friends, in some ways they kind of go, well, I thought you were going to take some time for us. And so in many ways, just to be very fair to family and loved ones and friends, if you're vacationing with them, they need to know that this time is our time to reconnect and rebuild relationships. And we're going to let the work kind of just sit on hold for a while.
I know I'm not a pastor, obviously, but even when I have days off of work, I almost have to force myself to just leave my laptop at work, turn my phone off, and walk away. But why is it so hard to do that, to disconnect from that work?
Well, it's I think number one, it's the commitment and the dedication that we have for work. We for professional church workers, hopefully we like what we do. We're engaged, but it's very hard to kind of leave it sit on the table for a little bit and say, somebody else could cover for me and perhaps do just as well at ministering to the folks who are in need as I would. One of the big issues in today's world is the digital thing, okay? And one of the advantages of vacation, if we can bring ourselves to do it, is what we call digital detox. And it's just saying, I'm going to let the emails rest. I'm going to let the texts rest. And having left work, I'm going to have somebody covering for me and handling the emergency calls and that sort of thing. But I think it's very difficult when you're committed and dedicated to what you do.
So what's at risk when pastor doesn't take vacation? What's at risk short-term and long-term?
Yeah. One of the things that last year in 2017, Synod conducted a research study of our church workers and their spouses, and it was on well-being. When you don't take a vacation and you're always engaged in work and don't have that quality time set aside to be with family, it can bring a stress in those relationships. With that, 26% of professional church workers said that they had experienced marital difficulty in the ministry. And so what happens is a vacation really provides that opportunity to reconnect. 24% of our workers have been told by professionals that they suffer from anxiety or depression. And so those kinds of things build up when you just work, and don't take time down to kind of rejuvenate and rest. Stress piles up. We all need to have that release valve. We need to have that time to just settle down and relax. And one of the things I believe was Dr. Bruce Hartung in his book, Holding Up the Prophet's Hands, talked about compassion fatigue. And what happens is in ministry, you're always caring for those people who are in need. And after a while, it's not that you don't feel the compassion, but you just get very tired and worn out, and you just need that time to rejuvenate in order that you might go back at it again with a very positive attitude and kind of fortified. Mm-hmm. So that's really important.
Yeah, I think a roadblock, one of the roadblocks maybe to vacation, especially in smaller congregations, is just the logistics of, if I'm gone, who's going to do the work, who's going to be able to take on those tasks in order to keep things running. If there's a funeral that comes up or something that needs a pastor or church worker's attention, but who are the people in the congregation or outside the congregation that can intentionally help a pastor to take that time away?
Right. One of the things I think that can be very helpful is that in the circuit organization that we have in the LCMS, if I'm in a parish and I'm going to go on vacation for a week, I can contact the neighboring pastor and say, would you be willing to cover for me while I'm on vacation? And, oh, by the way, I'll be delighted to cover for you when you're on vacation. Obviously, it's very important that the congregation knows that the pastor's going to be gone, and they know who to contact in need. If there's a church secretary, that person would know who to contact in case emergency does come up. But there are others who are very well qualified to step in and handle those emergency kind of situations. So as long as congregations understand the importance of their church workers taking some time off to rejuvenate and get stronger, and you have those contact people set up, that works pretty well. Yeah.
What about the guilt that can come up with not being there for people when you think that the congregation needs you there?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think again that goes back to that commitment question. People are in ministry because they are committed to helping people, want to share the faith, want to let people know about the Lord and His love and what Jesus has done for us. And so we take that very seriously. And so when we don't do our job or we're not around to do our job, sometimes that guilt can be there. But I think it's a matter of education of our congregation, of finding support from our leaders in our congregation that they understand, yeah, Pastor, you need to go. And if you go on vacation and an emergency pops up and you're always dealing with that emergency, you really didn't unwind it all. Your stress just kind of grew.
Mm-hmm. And if the pastor's stressed out all the time,
yeah,
exactly. I mean, we come up with all of these excuses thinking we're irreplaceable, Work is just too busy for a vacation right now. I'll have to put it off until later. and later gets farther in the future. Or if I left, everything would fall apart, and that typically is not true. There are people the Lord has put in place in His church who can carry on and can do it quite well. One of the things I think is very important for us is to kind of understand maybe a biblical basis for vacation.
We have just about a minute left.
Okay, in Scripture, Jesus oftentimes would just go away to a quiet place and He would pray. And it was His time to rejuvenate. And in Mark 6, verse 30 and 32, there the apostles come to Jesus and they tell Him all that they have been doing and all they have been teaching. And then Jesus said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a desolate place and rest for a while." For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. And they went away in a boat to a desolate place by themselves. And so it seems to me, if Jesus saw the need for His disciples to get away and take a break, that might be good advice for us to follow too.
Take that time. So, Pastor, please take your vacation. We'll do what we can to help too. Thank you so much. Right. Pastor, the Reverend Gene Wyssmann, Assistant to the President of the Missouri District of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, Assistant for Church Worker and Congregational Health. Thanks so much for being our guest on the Coffee Hour this morning.
Absolutely. God bless your day.
God bless you too. That does it for the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@KFUO.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.